Hello, hi, welcome. Thanks for being here. It's May 19th, 2017. I'm Sam Sheffer and I'm turning 27 in exactly a month. And you're watching Technically Speaking. Our poll today, let's take a stab at guessing the name of Android O. Google has been naming its Android operating systems after desserts in alphabetical order. The current version is Nougat, so next in the alphabet is O. Will it be called the obvious choice, Oreo? What about orange or oatmeal, maybe? Probably not, though. We'll revisit the poll later on in the show, but you can vote throughout by commenting your guess with a hashtag before it. So if you want to guess oatmeal, type in hashtag oatmeal. If you want to guess Oreo, which I think it's going to be, type in hashtag Oreo. If you can think of another dessert that we haven't even listed here, go ahead and put that in there, because why not? So in direct relation to the poll, the big story of the last few days is Google I/O, the company's annual developers conference that takes place in California every year because it's an annual developers conference. Google made a bunch of announcements. The keynote was like 2 hours long, and we're going to go through a recap of all the important takeaways. My friend Marquez, better known as MKBHD, uploaded a great video to YouTube that we're going to watch together and talk about. No, Marquez is not here, although it would be really cool if he was. So let's get to it. This is Marquez's top 5 Google I/O recap, and I will be doing some commentary as we go along.
Hey, what is up, guys? MKBHD here from Google I/O 2017. And I/O is definitely a little bit different every year, but it's a developer conference for people who use Google software and for all the developers of apps that run on that software. So while there is no new hardware, there's no Pixel 2 or anything crazy like that happening here, there is a lot of googly...
I think we'll see the Pixel 2 in like October or November. That's when they usually do the new hardware announcements.
Software, a lot of machine learning and image recognition and all that fun stuff that will eventually make it into the devices that we have now. So there's definitely some stuff to pay attention to. This is my top 5 announcements from Google I/O 2017. So number 1 is Google Lens. And I had a feeling something like this would make a comeback. So much of like what I said, the stuff at this conference is stuff like computer vision and machine learning and image recognition. And this is a perfect example of a culmination of all of that. So Google Lens is a new capability that will start showing up in Assistant and Photos and others that'll let you point your camera at an object and get more information about that object. Now, if that sounds familiar, that's because it is. We've had stuff like Google Goggles from way back in 2010, believe it or not, and then
shout out if you had Google Goggles on like your iPhone 3G or Motorola Droid.
Stuff in between like Bixby, etc. But the technology has gotten a lot better since 2010, so this is actually almost a completely different product. Now Google Lens and Assistant is so good you can point it at a flower and it'll tell you not only that it's a flower, but what kind of flower it is. Or if you're walking...
Is that going to work, though? Is that actually going to work?
Down the street and point Lens at a restaurant, since Google Maps knows where you are, image recognition is pretty easy to overlay info about the place you're looking at. And even
I get that that's cool, but like, what are you going to do with that? Like, you're going to call them? You're going to order? Like, just go in. The next example, though, is really good.
Even more awesome, you can point Lens at the bottom of a router, that sticker, you know, where it says the username and the password and the SSN, and it'll log you in instead of having to type it all out. So
that's really cool. Like, I can't count how many times I've had to like go behind some whatever and get a SSID and like the username and password of a router. If that works, that's a fantastic application for this.
Google Lens looks awesome, and while it's not out right now, I think if it ends up looking and working as well as it did in those videos, then it should be pretty dope. So number 2 is Google Assistant, and first things first, Google Assistant is now available on the iPhone.
That's pretty huge. I don't know if any of you remember, but the original iPhone and the next couple of iPhones shipped with YouTube. Like, there was a YouTube app built into the phone, and then their kind of partnership ended. And now there's like obviously hundreds of thousands of apps, but there's some pretty deep penetration that Google has in iPhones, but that's a different story.
So it's on my iPhone. I got it in the App Store. You can get it too right now. And this is the exact same assistant. It works the exact same way as it does on my Pixel or any other Android phone, so that's awesome. And there's even some iPhone-specific optimization, since obviously you can't hold down the home button to get to it. That's where Siri is. So you make a widget to put right next to your home screen to launch the assistant to get right to talking to it. You can scroll up to see your history of things you've asked for in the past, which is cool. and then you can also even type questions to it. So if you're in a quiet place and you don't have the space to ask things out loud to it, you can type what you want to know and hit send, and it'll answer. Hopefully that's coming to the Android version soon. And then the other news is now Google Assistant.
And also, Google kind of always does this. They release these fantastic apps for iOS first, even though they're like Android and Google. It's funny, they seem to do that a lot.
It will hopefully be in way more places really soon, thanks to the SDK becoming available to third-party developers. So the example they used on stage was literally pulling up Google Assistant and telling it you just want some Panera. And instead of it telling you what Panera is near you, it actually pulls up the menu, lets you pick exactly what you want to eat, and orders delivery. So that's pretty awesome. So
is that actually going to work? Like, I have enough trouble picking up the phone and calling people and getting the order wrong, or even going to somewhere and then getting takeout and sometimes it's the wrong food. So this is like in a super ideal situation. I would love to see this actually work.
So we're starting to see Google Assistant in a lot more places. It went from being this Pixel-only thing to being an Android-only thing to being much more widely available, and that's kind of what Google I/O is all about.
Google Assistant, have you downloaded it yet? Let me know. I have not.
Number 3 is Android O.
What's that in its hand?
And you're probably already familiar with Android O because I already did a video about it. You probably watched my top 5 features on Android O video. If you haven't, I'll link that below. That's where a lot of the main stuff is. But at I/O, they've announced that it's graduated from a developer preview to a beta. So now it's available in the beta channel. Anyone with a Pixel or a Nexus can download it, and you can check out a couple of new features that have also made it to this version. One thing I really like is the picture-in-picture mode, which is sort of like while you're doing one thing, you can continue doing that in the background and move to another thing, and just hit the home button to continue multitasking. You get a floating window that continues your background task. So while you're
pretty sure Samsung phones have been doing this, like the Samsung software phones. Like it's cool that it's now an official like Android thing from Google.
You're watching a YouTube video, you can hit home and open up a Notes app and start taking notes while the video plays. And when you're done, you can literally just swipe it away. There's also something called notification dots, kind of like something you would see in iOS where you have those little badges for your notification icons. Notification dots are the same way. They'll indicate on.
So like the red bubbles, like if you have a text or something or a missed call, or like the email thing that says like 10,000 emails, they're coming to Android now. But there's one cool thing that Android does that iOS doesn't. I'll show you.
An app on your home screen where you have notifications. So to check that notification, you can either pull down in the tray like normal,
right,
or you can actually long press that app icon on the home
So that's super cool.
Screen to look at it, and that'll give you the same information. So Android O is coming along pretty nicely. We should see the full final version of it and probably get a name for it sometime this summer. But it's got a couple other little features like improved autofill, better looking emojis that are redesigned, all kinds of faster boot times, things like that. So, but if you want to see the full 5 best new features about Android O, of course, you should watch that video. So number 4 is Google Photos. So you may or may not use this, but the improvements to it in the last year have gotten really good, and they're pretty much all in the space of machine learning and AI. So it already organizes your photos just by things it's recognized in them. It recognizes the faces, the locations, places you took them, the landmarks in the background, all sorts of things like that. Now it's just making that information more available to you. So there's something called suggested sharing, where it recognizes faces in your photos and essentially suggests that you share those photos with the people that are in them.
There's been a bunch of times where you're at a party or something and one person has all the photos on the phone, and then you have to say, oh, send me the pictures. Like, this is pretty cool. But then, all of your friends have to be using Google Photos, which I think a lot of people do.
Also shared libraries, which can automatically share every photo you take of your kids, for example, with your partner. And possibly the coolest one is some automatic photo manipulation. Now, this isn't just like the little filters it adds to your photo. Apparently, if this works well,
this is insane.
It'll let you literally remove obstructions from the front of the photo. The example they showed on stage was incredible.
Seriously?
I hope it works that well, but again, we have to see. All right, so number 5, last but not least, is Google.
Look at the Oreo in the background right above my head right here.
Google Home. And again, you may or may not have one of these, but it's getting some improvements that are improving it well too. One is called proactive assistance. So you know how Google now sometimes gives you little notifications telling you there's a traffic incident on your normal route or something that it kind of thinks you might want to know ahead of time? Well, now Google Home will also be able to do that, but since it doesn't have a display, it'll do that with the lights on the top. So now when you see it lighting up by itself, you can just ask what's up and it'll tell you that news. There's also hands-free calling coming to Google Home, which I think is pretty awesome and also long overdue. And now it can even start showing responses to questions that require a visual response on your TV or your phone. So before, it wouldn't make sense to ask Google Home a question like, show me my calendar, because there's no display, obviously. But now, since it's smart enough to connect to your TV or your phone, it will show that response on a device with a display, which is pretty convenient. So that's
That's pretty dope.
Pretty much it. Thank you for watching our little recap of Google I/O 2017. Feel free to share this with other people who you think might want to know what was announced.
So, a lot. They kind of announced a lot. I think the most interesting takeaway is the Google Lens. They have been working on doing image detection and all sorts of AI built into machine learning and computer vision, built into a sort of camera. Like it's basically like a computer that uses your like the phone's camera to look at things and kind of give you information like that. And like Marquez said, I remember having Google goggles way back, and they kind of promised the same features, and here we are 7 years later, and we're close. We're really getting there. So I'm curious to see. I'll get my hands on a lens or on a device that you can use Lens with, and I don't know if it's coming to iOS. I should double check that, but and we should totally do a demo here on the show. So let's take a look at the poll. Michelle, let's bring that up. We've got one tech in the studio today, single-handedly. Michelle, shout out to Michelle, killing the game right now. What's up, everyone watching the stream? Hello. What's up, Mike, Joseph, Justin, Jason, Johnny? So 100% of you think it's going to be Android Oreo. Wow, like all of you in the comments here. I don't see a single comment that was oatmeal or orange. So I just wanted to show y'all real quick. Where's my other window here? So Hiroshi Lockheimer, who is the SVP of Platforms and Ecosystems at Google, which means he basically runs or helps run Android, Chrome, Chrome OS, and Google Play. So let's just go through some of his tweets here. So there's one troll in particular that I want to show you. Found this randomly at a restaurant in Barcelona. True story, seriously. Oreo, okay? Responding to a good friend of mine, Dan. You'll never see this, but Dan, hello. This is an Oreo cake. And then he's also previewing maybe even the 2018 version of Android, because after O comes P and Pocky. Yeah, there's a couple. I think he's trolled some more, but this is the SVP of Platforms and Ecosystems at Google trolling the Oreo name. So it would be cool to see a Android robot special version of the Oreo cookie, which I bet we'll see because they kind of did the same thing with the Kit Kat. All right, so the poll, 100% obelisk, orangutan. Jason Smith, imagine it was Android Obelisk, like Obelisk the Tormentor from Yu-Gi-Oh! Shout-outs to my Yu-Gi-Oh! Friends out there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know if you've downloaded the Android public beta of Android O on your device. It is available now to download, but obviously be careful because it's a beta version. And let us know your experiences so far. And with that, from Mashable Studios and the office here in New York City, that was some music. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next week. Cue the music.